Kendra Moore's heels clicked sharply against the polished marble of her apartment building's lobby, the sound echoing in the quietness of a late Tuesday evening. Another 14-hour day at Horizon Brands was finally behind her, another major client secured, another milestone that should have felt like celebration. "Good job today," she muttered to herself, though the words felt thin. In the mirrored elevator walls, she caught her own reflection, 32 years old today, senior PR executive, exhausted but still standing straight. "Happy birthday, Kendra," she whispered, trying to sound amused. When she reached her apartment, the small cake she'd bought herself that morning sat on the coffee table with a single candle waiting like a soldier without orders. No messages. No calls. Nothing. She lit the candle anyway, the flame flickering weakly. "Make a wish," she whispered in an empty room. But she couldn't think of a single one that felt honest. After kicking off her heels, Kendra set her phone beside her, still no notifications. "Big girl. You don't need this," she told herself, forcing a chuckle. But the silence pressed heavily on her chest. She finally opened her laptop, thinking she'd distract herself with work. Instead, her fingers drifted to Facebook. The first image froze her. Darius, her younger brother, smiling broadly, champagne raised high at what was clearly a party. Behind him hung a banner, "Congratulations on your promotion, Darius." Her parents, Lydia and Reginald, stood on either side of him, pride glowing on their faces. The timestamp? 4 hours ago. Her birthday. "Seriously," she breathed, scrolling through photo after photo. Her entire family, cousins, aunts, uncles, everyone was there. Everyone except her. The comment stung even more. "So proud of you, Darius," her father wrote. "The Moore legacy continues," her mother added. Kendra slammed the laptop shut, heart twisting sharply. Memories rose like ghosts she couldn't keep buried. 11-year-old Kendra sitting alone in a restaurant booth, staring at a melting birthday candle as she waited for her family to return from Darius' debate competition. They promised they'd be back. They never came. At 17, she spent her birthday weekend at Grandma's house while her parents toured Yale with Darius. "It's his future, sweetheart," her father said, not quite meeting her gaze. Even her college graduation dinner had been hijacked by Darius announcing his engagement to Tiana. "We're just so excited." Lydia beamed, pushing Kendra's achievement aside. Last month, Reginald dismissed her record-breaking 41% revenue increase on a client campaign. "It's just advertising, Kendra. Not like Darius' work in finance. That's real impact." Her phone buzzed, an email. Her bonus for the Horizon campaign, $82,000. "At least someone values me," she whispered. Then her phone rang. "Kendra, darling," Lydia chirped when she answered, sounding rushed but cheerful. "Perfect timing. I needed your help. We're planning something small for Darius and Tiana's anniversary, just decorations and catering. You're so good at that sort of thing." Kendra stared at the wall clock as it struck midnight. Her birthday was over. "Mom," she said quietly, "today was my birthday." Silence. Then a surprised, "Oh, sweetheart, with Darius' big promotion, it must have slipped our mind." Slipped. The word hit harder than she expected. She stared at her bonus email still glowing on the laptop. Something shifted deep inside her, tightening, aligning. "Don't worry about it," she said slowly. "I understand what's important to this family." Lydia laughed lightly, oblivious. "Wonderful. I knew you'd be helpful." But Kendra ended the call early. For the first time, her voice felt unfamiliar, steady, cold, forming a decision she hadn't yet named. 4 days later at work, Kendra froze when she realized her mother had accidentally added her to a family group chat she wasn't meant to see. Threads filled her screen like a crime scene. "Kendra should contribute significantly to the anniversary gift," Reginald typed. "At least $20,000. Lydia responded, "She just got that bonus. Time she supports the family for once." Kendra blinked, stomach dropping. Then she saw it, her name spelled wrong. Kendra with one N. Her own mother couldn't bother to spell it right. She leaned back in her office chair, staring at the Chicago skyline through her window. At Horizon, she was brilliant, respected, valued. At home, she was an afterthought, useful only when they wanted something. Guess I finally know where I stand, she whispered bitterly. Just then, her co-worker and closest friend, Chanel Brooks, stepped into her office. You look like you saw a ghost. What's going on? Kendra spun her laptop toward Chanel. Look. Just look at what my family's saying. Chanel skimmed the messages, eyebrows rising. Girl, they've lost their minds. $20,000? For an anniversary party? Are they okay? Kendra sighed. Apparently it's time I support the family for once. Chanel shook her head hard. What exactly have they done for you lately? Besides drain your soul? Before Kendra could answer, her boss, Mr. Harold Stanton, stepped in. Kendra, excellent news. The Westfield campaign numbers came in, 41% quarterly revenue increase. The board is ecstatic. He placed a folder on her desk. This is why I fought for your bonus. Well done. After he left, Chanel nudged her shoulder. See, this is family. Not those people using you like an ATM machine. Kendra's work phone rang. It was her brother, Darius. Probably wants another contact, she muttered, answering reluctantly. Hey sis, he said smoothly. I need a favor. Darius wanted her to pull strings with Regentecca's chief marketing officer. Again. It's a big client opportunity for us, he pressed. Family helping family, you know? Kendra's jaw tightened. I'll see what I can do, she said, though she'd already decided she wouldn't. Later that evening, she knocked on her elderly neighbor's door. Mrs. Gloria Benton greeted her with a warm smile and the comforting smell of oatmeal cookies. Right on time, the old woman said, ushering her in. Their weekly ritual, Kendra bringing takeout, Mrs. Benton baking dessert, had become the one place she felt seen. Over dinner, Kendra shared everything: the forgotten birthday, the group chat, the $20,000 expectation. When she finished, Gloria placed a gentle hand on hers. Some parents never truly see their children, she said softly. They're too busy looking at their own reflections. The words sank deep into Kendra's chest. She left feeling shaken, but clearer. Saturday evening, Kendra drove toward her parents' mansion on Lakeshore Drive, stomach knotted. The Moore's three-story stone home loomed like a palace of expectations. Inside, Lydia fussed over flower arrangements while Reginald poured scotch, his posture radiating authority. Darius and Tiana sat comfortably on the leather sofa, glowing with satisfaction. Dinner unfolded with predictable choreography, Reginald praising Darius' promotion, Lydia praising Tiana's volunteer work. Not once did they ask about Kendra's record-breaking campaign. When dessert arrived, Reginald finally turned to her. Kendra, we need to discuss your contribution to Darius and Tiana's anniversary celebration. $20,000 should cover the venue and catering. As the only family member with recent funds, it's appropriate. Kendra held his gaze. I can't, she said. He blinked. I beg your pardon. I have other plans, she said firmly. Lydia gasped, eyes widening dramatically. After everything we've done for you? Exactly what have you done for me? Kendra asked quietly, surprising even herself. Reginald stood up, towering over her. We will not tolerate disrespect, he snapped. Your brother is the real achiever of this family. Supporting him is the least you can do. The words hit with painful familiarity. Tiana shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. I'm leaving, Kendra said, standing on shaking legs. Lydia reached out, whispering, Please don't make a scene. But Kendra pulled her arm away. I'm not making a scene. I'm making a boundary. She walked out into the night air, her pulse pounding. In her car, gripping the steering wheel, she whispered, This is the last time. Then, as if sealing a pact with herself, she added, I'm done being the background character in my own family. For the first time in years, she felt something like power rising inside her, raw, new, and terrifying. The following week, Lydia called every morning at exactly 7:15. Kendra started leaving her phone in the bathroom. Kendra, sweetie, Lydia insisted one morning, this rebellious phase has to stop. Kendra applied mascara, unfazed. I'm not rebellious. I'm grown. Then behave like it. Your father is losing sleep. We sacrificed so much for you. Like what? Kendra asked, genuinely curious. Lydia gasped. How can you ask that? Kendra hung up before responding. By afternoon, Reginald stormed into Horizon Brand's lobby demanding to see her. Chanel mouthed, code red, as he approached. This is my workplace, Kendra hissed, ushering him into a private room. Good, he snapped. Then act professional. Professionals honor their families. Professionals don't get manipulated, she countered. His expression hardened. Fix this, Kendra. She stepped back. No, his shock was immediate. Her phone buzzed, an emergency client alert. Conversation over, she said, walking out with steady steps. 3 hours later, Kendra stood before Horizon's executive team, delivering a crisis strategy that saved a multimillion-dollar account. Her voice was steady, confident, so different from the shaky daughter who once begged for approval. After the meeting, Mr. Stanton approached her, smiling sincerely. Exceptional work today, Kendra. The client is beyond impressed. She nodded, absorbing praise she rarely allowed herself to feel. Back in her office, her phone buzzed non-stop, 6 missed calls from Darius and a text. Mom's crying every night because of you. Fix this. Kendra stared at the message, feeling the familiar guilt rising. But then she looked at her inbox. Dozens of congratulatory emails from colleagues, clients, even board members. At work, she was respected. At home, she was convenient. She silenced her phone and closed her office door, feeling something shift further inside her. She wasn't going backward. Not now. Not ever again. 3 weeks after her birthday, Kendra sat alone in a cozy corner cafe, half-eaten carrot cake beside her laptop. Across the room, a lively group celebrated a friend's birthday. Laughter, gifts, candles. She watched quietly, remembering how she once longed for that kind of family warmth. Instead, she got obligation wrapped in disappointment. Her fingers hesitated over her keyboard before she typed, Lakefront Property, Michigan. Dozens of listings appeared, homes with wraparound porches, pine trees, water views. One caught her breath. A 4-bedroom lakehouse with floor-to-ceiling windows facing the water. Price, $365,000. She clicked through the photos slowly, something warm and daring rising in her chest. Could this be hers? A place untouched by guilt or expectations. The next morning, she called a realtor. 2 days later, she stood on the wooden deck, sunlight sparkling across Lake Michigan. I'll take it, she said. Her voice didn't tremble once. The mortgage approval came quickly, her excellent credit working in her favor. She signed the papers in a quiet office, each signature feeling like a declaration of independence. Mrs. Gloria Benton accompanied her, dressed in a soft lavender sweater, eyes bright with pride. Sometimes, Gloria said, patting her hand gently, we must build the home our hearts never received. Kendra felt her throat tighten. When she received the keys, she held them like they were made of gold. Weekends became peaceful escapes as she transformed the house room by room, painting, decorating, building a sanctuary of her own making. Her framed awards went on the office wall, her favorite books filled the bedroom shelves, and her proudest achievements finally took center stage. One Sunday, she wrote housewarming invitations to Chanel, her colleagues, and Gloria. Her finger hovered over her family contacts, but she didn't waver. She pressed send without adding a single more. The following weekend, Kendra sat on her deck overlooking the shimmering lake, phone deliberately left inside. She sipped Pinot Noir as the sky shifted from orange to pink. For the first time in her adult life, her nerves were quiet. Her mind was still. Her phone buzzed at last, but she ignored it. Another buzz. Then another. When she finally checked, she blinked. 17 missed calls. 32 text messages. All from her family. Lydia had called 8 times in 15 minutes. Kendra placed her phone face down on the wooden railing. Not today, she whispered. She leaned back in her chair and watched the sunset, letting its warmth wash over her. Every inch of the lake house, paint colors, furniture, lighting, reflected her choices alone. She wasn't running away from her family. She was stepping into a life where she mattered. And that life didn't require their approval to thrive. Monday morning at work, Kendra found 6 frantic voicemails from Lydia. Where did you get the money for a house? Call us immediately, another said. People are asking questions we can't answer. The last message, your brother is driving to your job right now. You better be there. Kendra calmly deleted them all and made blueberry pancakes in her new kitchen before returning to Chicago. Later, her work phone rang. Chanel. Girl, your brother just showed up here looking for you, she said. He asked everyone where you were. I told him your whereabouts weren't my information to share. Kendra exhaled slowly, touched. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Chanel warned. Somebody from accounting slipped and mentioned Michigan. So now he knows you're not in Chicago. Kendra looked out her office window, city stretching beneath her feet. Let him find out, she said softly. I'm not hiding anymore. Saturday arrived with bright skies and gentle breezes, the perfect day for Kendra's housewarming. Her colleagues drove up one by one, bringing gifts and laughter. Chanel came first with sunflowers. Your place is gorgeous, she shouted before even stepping inside. Terrence Boyd from marketing brought a platter of pastries. Mr. Stanton arrived with an expensive bottle of Cabernet and a handwritten note, to celebrating yourself, finally. Kendra felt warmth spreading in her chest. Then came Gloria, moving slowly but smiling wide. She carried a handmade quilt of ocean blue and forest green squares. Every home needs a touch of love, she said. Kendra hugged her, genuinely moved. They grilled on the deck, music floating through the air, conversations blending with the sound of water lapping gently against the shore. Kendra captured photos, sunset reflections, laughter, food, joy. All of it real. All of it earned. All of it hers. As the evening settled, Kendra posted a few photos online. Friends gathered around the fire pit, the quilt draped over her reading chair, the sparkling lake behind her deck. She didn't write anything dramatic. Just, weekend at my new lake house. A birthday gift to myself. Within minutes, her phone exploded. Reginald texted first, where did the money come from? Answer immediately. Lydia followed with, this is irresponsible and embarrassing. People are talking. Kendra placed her phone on the kitchen counter and continued pouring wine for her guests. Later that night, after everyone left, she sat alone on the deck, wrapped in Gloria's quilt. She studied the stars reflecting in the lake. This piece wasn't accidental, it was built choice by choice, boundary by boundary. Her phone buzzed repeatedly, but she didn't reach for it. For once, silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like freedom. The next morning at work, gossip had already spread through the extended family. Kendra's cousin Jasmine called with that familiar dramatic tone. Girl, what is going on? Everyone's saying you're hiding money or spiraling or jealous of Darius. Kendra laughed, a genuine, surprised sound. I bought myself a house, Jasmine. That's all. Jasmine hesitated. Your parents are panicking. Aunt Lydia said people are asking uncomfortable questions. Kendra raised an eyebrow. Like why they didn't celebrate my birthday. Silence. Well, yes, Jasmine admitted. People noticed. Kendra swiveled her office chair, feeling something like justice. They should notice. That night, Lydia called again, voice trembling with forced control. Kendra, this attention-seeking behavior must stop, she said. Buying a house without consulting us? Posting those photos? People are talking. Kendra stared at her lake view screensaver. Good, she replied quietly. Maybe they'll finally understand what you ignored. We're arranging a family dinner Sunday night, Lydia declared. Your father and I will explain this was a misunderstanding. We've always supported you. Kendra felt her jaw tighten. The rewriting of history was almost insulting. I'm available Tuesday, she said instead. 7 o'clock at your place. And I'm bringing photo albums. Lydia's breath caught. What photo albums? The ones I've kept since I was 11, Kendra answered. She hung up before her mother could respond. On Tuesday, she approached the Moore mansion with 3 heavy albums pressed against her chest. The granite steps felt unfamiliar beneath her feet, as if she were approaching a courtroom, not her parents' home. When Reginald opened the door, he scanned the albums with suspicion. You're late, he said sharply. Kendra stepped inside calmly. Tonight, she wasn't a guilty daughter. Tonight, she was a woman ready to present decades of evidence. The dining table was set with the finest china, candles flickering in polished silver holders. Lydia sat primly with a tissue in hand, prepared for another performance. Darius and Tiana occupied the opposite side, quiet but observant. Kendra didn't take her usual seat. Instead, she placed the albums in the center of the table. "Let's skip the small talk," she said. "We all know why I'm here." Reginald scoffed. "We're concerned about your reckless spending. Buying a house without consulting us." "It was my money," she interrupted. Darius leaned forward. "Selling it could keep the peace, Kendra. Mom's been crying for days." Kendra opened the first album and slid it toward him. Page after page showed Darius celebrating birthdays with cake, trips, gifts, family joy. "Turn to page 16, she said. He did, his 18th birthday, a new car with a giant bow. Kendra's voice didn't shake as she whispered, "Now look at mine." Kendra opened the second album, her own. Lydia leaned forward eagerly, expecting childhood smiles and family memories. Instead, page after page stared back empty. Only a few scattered photos existed: a 6-year-old Kendra with a store-bought cupcake, a lonely shot of her blowing out candles in an empty kitchen, and one picture of her and Gloria celebrating her 30th birthday. Lydia blinked. Where are the rest?" she whispered. Kendra looked her mother in the eye. "There weren't any. You never took them." Reginald scoffed. "Don't be dramatic." Kendra turned another page, empty. "This is my childhood." Empty pages. Lydia pulled back as if burned. "We didn't mean to neglect you, Kendra." "But you did," she said quietly. Years of birthdays forgotten, events overshadowed, accomplishments ignored. Darius stared at the album, his expression slowly losing confidence. "I didn't know," he murmured. "I thought—" Kendra shook her head. "You never asked." She opened the third album, Vacations. Disneyland, Europe, the Grand Canyon. Every page showed the Moore family smiling under blue skies, posing in front of monuments, eating at lavish restaurants. Kendra was never in a single photo. Lydia swallowed hard. "You were with Grandma those summers. She said you preferred staying home." Kendra's eyebrows rose. "I was 10. I preferred being invited." Reginald bristled. "We couldn't afford trips for everyone. Someone had to stay." "Funny," Kendra interrupted, pointing at a photo labeled London 2008, "because that's the same year you bought Darius his first car." Tiana looked away, guilt flickering in her eyes. "Maybe we should listen to her," she said softly. Reginald glared at her but said nothing. Kendra reached into her purse and placed a small worn piece of paper on the table. "This," she said, "is from my diary when I was 9. Read it." Darius lifted the diary page with trembling fingers. Kendra remembered the exact words, even before he read them. "Maybe next year they'll remember without Grandma reminding them. Maybe next year they'll see me." Darius's eyes flicked to her face. "You wrote this?" "Yes," she replied. Reginald exhaled sharply. "Children write dramatic things all the time." Kendra stood, her calm more unsettling than anger. "You keep dismissing my reality because it's inconvenient." "But I lived it." She pulled one last photograph from her folder, a Christmas dinner picture from 3 years ago. "Look closely." Lydia squinted. "It's our family Christmas photo." "Right," Kendra said. "Except I was in Chicago working that day. Yet you set a place for me and sent the picture acting like I'd chosen to miss it." Lydia gasped. "We wanted you to feel included." "No," Kendra corrected. "You wanted to feel like good parents." For the first time, Reginald's confident posture faltered. "What do you want from us, Kendra?" he asked, sounding tired. "An apology." "Fine." "We favored Darius. He was the one carrying the Moore name, the one with potential." Darius flinched as if struck. Lydia reached for Reginald's arm. "Don't say it like that." But Reginald continued, voice gruff. "She was independent. She didn't need us the same way." Kendra stared at him. "Every child needs their parents. But you only had room for one." Silence rippled across the table. Even the candles seemed to flicker lower. Tiana swallowed, whispering, "I never realized." Kendra gathered her albums. "I'm not here for apologies," she said. "I'm here to let go." Lydia stood, panicked. "Kendra, wait. We can fix this." Kendra paused at the doorway, gripping the albums tightly. "You can start by admitting you broke it." Reginald opened his mouth, but no words came. Lydia stepped closer, tears forming, real ones this time. "We didn't know," she whispered. "We truly didn't." Kendra met her gaze, seeing the crack in her mother's polished exterior. "You didn't want to know." Darius rose from his seat slowly. "Kendra, I'm sorry." His voice trembled with sincerity she hadn't heard from him since childhood. "I should have noticed. I should have been there." She nodded once, not forgiveness, but acknowledgement. "Do better next time," she said simply. Then she turned to leave. Lydia reached out again, but Kendra stepped back. "Not tonight." At the front door, she paused. "I'm choosing myself now. Not because I don't love you, but because you never learned how to love me back." The finality in her voice echoed through the mansion. When she closed the door behind her, it felt like closing a book she'd carried too long. A full year passed. On her 33rd birthday, the morning sun shimmered across Kendra's lakehouse deck as she arranged a tray of fresh fruit beside chilled champagne. She wore a red sundress, the breeze brushing her curls away from her face. Terence stepped outside carrying a platter. "Everything looks perfect," he said. Kendra smiled. "Thank you. It feels perfect." Inside, Chanel placed candles on the birthday cake, 33 small flames plus one for luck. "Girl, last year you cried alone over a cupcake. Look at you now," she said, grinning proudly. Friends from Horizon filled the house with laughter, music, and life. Her phone buzzed repeatedly with messages about her recent promotion to senior director. "To Kendra," Chanel shouted, raising her glass. "A woman who finally chose herself." Everyone cheered, clinking glasses. Kendra breathed deeply, absorbing the warmth around her. This feeling, was what she had always deserved. A car door slammed outside. Kendra recognized the engine immediately. Darius' BMW. The deck fell quiet as he approached, a neatly wrapped package in hand. He paused, unsure of his welcome. Kendra walked toward him, heart steady. "You came," she said. He nodded. "I wanted to give you this. In person." She stepped aside. "Join us." The relief on his face was subtle but real. Later, as the guests moved indoors, Kendra and Darius sat together at the end of the dock. The lake rippled gently beneath their feet. "Therapy showed me things I didn't want to see," he admitted. "Mom's trying. Dad's, well, Dad. But I needed you to hear me say it. You were never the problem." Kendra blinked against the sting in her eyes. "Thank you." He handed her the wrapped box. "Open it." Inside was a restored photo of her at 7, laughing freely on a tire swing. Kendra held the photo carefully, as if it were something fragile and irreplaceable. "Where did you find this?" she whispered. "In Dad's old storage boxes," Darius said. "Buried under years of dust. I had it restored. I thought, maybe you should have proof you were happy once, even if nobody captured it properly." Kendra's breath caught. The girl in the picture radiated joy, pure, unfiltered joy. A version of herself she'd forgotten. "Thank you," she said again, voice trembling. Darius looked out over the lake. "I wish I had seen you clearer back then." She placed a hand on his arm. "We can start now." A soft knock interrupted them. Turning, Kendra saw Lydia standing hesitantly on the porch, clutching a small bakery box. "She insisted," Darius whispered. "I only told her where this place was today." Kendra inhaled sharply. A year ago, this moment would have broken her. Now, it only opened a door. Lydia approached slowly, as if afraid Kendra might disappear. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," she said, voice trembling. She extended the bakery box. Inside was a single carrot cake cupcake with one candle. "You always liked carrot cake, didn't you?" Kendra studied her mother's face, less polished, less guarded than she remembered. "I did," she answered softly. Lydia swallowed. "I'm trying, Kendra. I know it's late. But I want to do better." The vulnerability in her eyes was real, not rehearsed. Kendra nodded. "You can stay for cake if you'd like." Lydia exhaled shakily, relief washing over her. Inside the house, friends made room at the table, greeting Lydia kindly but cautiously. For the first time, Lydia saw her daughter surrounded by people who valued her, people who showed up. Kendra handed her a plate, noticing her mother's quiet awe. This was healing, slow, imperfect, but possible. Later that night, after everyone had left, Kendra returned to the dock with a glass of champagne. The lake reflected streaks of purple and gold as twilight settled in. She thought of the lonely girl with empty photo albums, the woman begging for recognition, the daughter carrying the weight of being unseen. And then she thought of today, friends gathered, laughter echoing, boundaries honored, love freely given. Her phone buzzed. A text from Gloria. "Did you enjoy your day, dear?" Kendra smiled. "For the first time, I truly celebrated myself," she typed back. She raised her glass toward the quiet reflection of her silhouette on the water. "To choosing myself," she whispered. Finally. The cool air brushed against her skin as she breathed deeply, letting years of pain dissolve into the stillness of the night. Kendra Moore had given herself the greatest gift, permission to matter. And she would never give it back. The next morning, Kendra woke to the soft hum of waves brushing the shore. For a moment, she lay still, absorbing the quiet, a quiet she had earned. She brewed coffee and stepped onto the deck, wrapped in Gloria's quilt. The world felt new. Later, as she drove back to Chicago for work, she replayed the previous night. Darius' apology, Lydia's vulnerable effort, the laughter of people who genuinely cared. She gripped the steering wheel lightly, realizing something profound. She no longer lived for her family's acceptance. She lived for her own peace. At Horizon Brands, colleagues greeted her with congratulations for her promotion. "Senior Director Moore," Terrence teased, bowing dramatically. Kendra laughed, shaking her head. "Don't start." But the title felt good, earned, deserved, hers. Chanel approached her with a hot coffee. "You glowing girl," she said. "Lakehouse magic." Kendra smiled. "No," she corrected gently. "Self-respect magic." During lunch, Kendra stepped into a quiet courtyard behind the office building. She scrolled through her messages, notes from friends, a new client inquiry, and one unexpected text from Lydia. "Thanks for letting me come yesterday. One step at a time." Kendra exhaled slowly. She typed back, "One step at a time." She didn't promise more than she could give, but she left the door open. That was enough. Later that afternoon, Darius called. "Hey," he said, voice calm. "I found more photos in Dad's storage. Want them?" Kendra hesitated. "Bring them over next weekend. We'll go through them together." "Together," he repeated, almost surprised. "Yeah, I'd like that." When she ended the call, she leaned back against the courtyard bench. Healing wasn't a switch, it was a journey, and she was taking it at her own pace. For once, no one was rushing her. And she wasn't rushing herself. That evening, Kendra returned to the lakehouse, choosing not to stay in Chicago. The moment she entered the serene space, she felt her shoulders drop. She changed into soft loungewear, turned on jazz music, and lit a candle. The simplicity of the moment reminded her how much she had starved for peace growing up. As she prepared dinner, she replayed Gloria's words in her mind. "Sometimes we build the home our hearts never received." Kendra stirred her pasta sauce, tasting it with a smile. "This is my home," she whispered. Her phone buzzed. A message from Chanel. "Proud of you. Truly." Another from Terrence. "When's the next lake trip?" And from Mr. Stanton. "Board wants you to lead a new national campaign. We'll discuss Monday." Kendra laughed in disbelief. Her life was expanding. Finally. After dinner, she curled up in her reading chair, moonlight pouring through the window, feeling whole. Over the next week, Kendra noticed something unusual. Her family wasn't blowing up her phone anymore. No guilt messages. No demands. No criticisms. Instead, there were quiet, tentative attempts at connection. Lydia sent a recipe. Darius sent a funny childhood memory. Even Tiana messaged her a photo of a handmade scarf and wrote, "Thinking of you." Kendra wasn't naive. She knew decades of patterns wouldn't vanish overnight. But she also recognized sincerity when she saw it. She didn't respond immediately. She took her time. She responded when it felt right. And surprisingly, it felt right more often now. She realized something profound. Healing didn't require forgetting. It required choosing differently. Choosing boundaries. Choosing peace. Choosing people who choose you back. One evening, she stood on her deck, hands in her sweater pockets, and whispered, "I'm finally living my life, not the one they scripted for me." The following weekend, Darius arrived at the lakehouse with a cardboard box full of old photos. He stood awkwardly at the doorstep, shifting his weight. "Ready?" he asked. Kendra laughed. "Come inside before you drop them." They sat on the rug in her living room, spreading photos across the coffee table. Most were of Darius, but occasionally a forgotten snapshot of Kendra appeared, her in a school play, her holding a trophy, her asleep on the couch with a book on her chest. "Why didn't they keep more of these?" Darius asked quietly. "Because they didn't see me," she answered. He nodded slowly. "But I see you now." Her eyes softened. "Thank you." They talked for hours, sharing childhood stories, comparing memories, piecing together a history that had always felt one-sided. When Darius left that evening, he hugged her longer than he ever had. "See you next week?" he asked. "Definitely," she said. Back in Chicago, word spread quickly about Kendra's leadership on the Westfield crisis. Clients began specifically requesting her. Horizon Brands placed her on the shortlist for Vice President of PR. During a board meeting, Mr. Stanton praised her strategy, calling her an indispensable asset. When he pulled her aside later, he said, "You're becoming the face of what this company stands for: strength, innovation, integrity." Kendra felt a wave of emotion rise in her throat. She remembered the countless times her father had dismissed her work. "It's just advertising," he always said. But here, her work mattered. Here, she mattered. On her drive home, Kendra paused at a lakeside viewpoint. She stepped out of her car and breathed the cool evening air. "I'm not the overlooked daughter anymore," she whispered. "I'm Kendra Moore." And for the first time in her life, the name felt complete. The next Sunday, Lydia called. "I'd like to visit the lake house," she said softly. Kendra hesitated. "Just me," Lydia added. "No pressure. I just want to understand the place you love so much." Kendra considered the request. A year ago, the idea would have terrified her. Now, it simply required boundaries. "Come tomorrow at noon," she said. Lydia arrived wearing a simple sweater and jeans, no pearls, no rehearsed expression. She walked slowly through the house, touching framed photos, observing the colors, admiring the handmade quilt. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "It feels peaceful. I didn't know you needed this." Kendra exhaled. "I didn't know I was allowed to need anything." Lydia's eyes welled. "I'm sorry, Kendra. I failed you in ways I didn't see." Kendra nodded gently. "Seeing it now is a start." They sat on the deck together, quiet but connected. A beginning, not a repair. As winter approached, Kendra's life settled into a rhythm she'd never known: balanced, loved, peaceful. Her lake house became a gathering place for friends, small celebrations, movie nights, and quiet mornings with coffee. Gloria visited on Tuesdays for their ritual dinners, Chanel often stayed for weekends, and Darius continued his weekly visits. Kendra began therapy again, not out of desperation, but out of desire, to keep growing, to keep healing. Dr. Lewis smiled during one session and said, "You've learned to mother yourself, Kendra." "That is powerful." Kendra smiled back. "I guess I finally realized I'm worth the effort." One evening, as snow dusted the pine trees, she sat by the fire and reflected on the girl she once was, lonely, overlooked, waiting for validation. That girl had grown into a woman who built her own sanctuary. And she was proud, truly proud, of herself. Spring arrived quietly. One morning, Kendra stepped outside and saw new buds forming along the tall pines. Growth, steady, patient, undeniable. She brewed tea and settled into her Adirondack chair, wrapped in Gloria's quilt. Her phone buzzed. A message from Reginald, short, formal, but sincere. "I'd like to visit. I owe you a conversation. If you're willing." Kendra stared at the message for a long moment. A year ago, she would have said yes immediately. Months ago, she would have refused in anger. Now, she smiled softly. She typed, "Not yet. But someday." Then she set her phone aside and watched the lake shimmer beneath the rising sun. Healing didn't have to be rushed. It just had to be honest. And she had learned to trust her timing. She breathed deeply, knowing she was finally free from old expectations. Free to choose her life, every part of it. That evening, Kendra stood at the edge of her dock, water brushing softly against the wooden beams. She held the restored childhood photo Darius had given her, a reminder of who she had been and who she became. Behind her, warm lights glowed from inside the lakehouse, reflecting a life she had built with intention, courage, and self-worth. "Happy birthday, Kendra," she whispered to herself, even though months had passed. Because every day felt like a rebirth now. She sipped her tea, letting the cool breeze wrap around her. Her phone buzzed again, messages from friends, new clients, and one from Gloria. "Proud of you, dear." Kendra smiled. She no longer needed a family to celebrate her. She had herself. She had healing. She had peace. And for the first time, she understood her value had never depended on their attention. She mattered, because she finally chose to. Please, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel.